You're now listening to the Engage the Rockies podcast, your go-to podcast for local and state issues concerning Colorado.
Hello, Rockies. This is Sarah Jane Maroney, your host, and welcome to the third week of May in 2025.
First up, Camp Idrahaje have filed suit against the Colorado Department of Early Childhood. This happened on Monday. They have asked for a religious exemption to the ruling that transgender children get to use the bathroom of their choice. Camp Idrahaje said that that was against their religious beliefs and asked for this exemption, and the exemption was denied. So the Alliance Defending Freedom are coming with lawyers and helping Idrahaje, and Idrahaje is suing based on religious discrimination. The camp is set to open on the 8th of June, and they have said that they will not be in compliance with these rules and have asked a federal judge to immediately prevent the department from enforcing the rules against the camp, and that it is a violation of their First Amendment rights and the free exercise of religion. They have operated since 1948, and they serve children between the ages of 6 and 17, and the camps have attendance of 2,500 to 3,000 children every summer. Big news from out east. Bent County have made a declaration stating that they are a Second Amendment sanctuary. And this is in opposition of SB 3 that has passed through the Colorado legislature and been signed by the governor, stating that there are quite a few hoops to jump through, a class to take, extra licenses and whatnot to get in order to purchase a semi-automatic weapon, which covers a lot of different guns. And they say, quote, SB 3 not only places disproportionate burdens on rural working class residents, but it also compels our sheriff's office to dedicate limited law enforcement resources to bureaucratic oversight rather than serving urgent public safety needs. End quote. And that was from the commissioners of Bent County. And they are standing staunchly against this.
In the first quarter of 2025, homicides in Denver have declined 58%. And in Aurora, also saw a 36% decline of homicides in the same period of the previous year. This is due to Immigration, Customs, and Enforcement attempting to take down Tren de Aragua gang members and a focus of Trump's administration on the Denver area. In fact, Aurora Police Chief Todd Chamberlain said, quote, the city of Aurora and Aurora PD are actually in a really good spot right now. Our crime numbers are down 28.2% overall, end quote. ICE has even announced the expansion of their efforts in Colorado. In a lawsuit filed on Monday, cities are suing Jared Polis over state housing policies. There are 6 home rule cities in Colorado, and they are suing the state, alleging that it has usurped its authority and challenges the executive order that Governor Jared Polis signed last week to withhold state grants from local communities if they don't implement his housing laws. And the cities say that this is absolutely not allowable, and they have the jurisdiction and authority to decide what type of housing they allow in their jurisdictions. The Greenwood Village mayor said that, quote, for over 100 years, local land use planning has been left to residents and their locally elected officials rather than the state, end quote. Governor Polis noted that a 20-minute commute could potentially cross 14 jurisdictions. So it's about how the state decides to address things. But local governments are pushing back. Governor Polis's executive order is asking each city to comply with more than half a dozen recent laws, but the lawsuit against Governor Polis is taking aim at 2 particular ones. One law is allowing multifamily developments to have fewer off-street parking. And the other law allows for denser housing up to 40 units per acre near a transit hub. Obviously, affordable housing is quite the issue in Colorado, has 32 local governments across the Front Range that are covered by this executive order. Big arguments between the Colorado Chamber of Commerce and the Colorado Fiscal Institute, clashing over whether there's too much regulation in Colorado or not. The Colorado Chamber of Commerce president and CEO, Lauren Furman, said that the organization hit the ground running this year as the legislative session began, and that regulations in Colorado have boomed over the past decade. From 2017 to 2020, they grew by 7%, which is 3 times the national average. The Colorado Fiscal Institute hit back that there are many regulations required to protect workers and consumers from bad actors. For example, the bill asking rideshare companies like Uber and Lyft that cleared both chambers is still awaiting the governor's signature, and this would add further regulations. The Fiscal Institute cited finding funds for initiatives at a state level can be tricky, especially in Colorado, where the government spending is capped by Tabor. You'll recall in our interview with Senator Kirkmeyer, make sure to check that out, she explained how much of a deficit had to be plugged. One regulation that CFI opposes is specifically Tabor. And the efforts this session by the Democratic lawmakers to file a suit constitutionally was unsuccessful. However, they said they want to see the resolution return next session. For years, Fort Morgan, with a population of 11,000, has been dealing with ever-shrinking housing options, low stock, rising costs, and changing demographics. However, it is home to meat processor Cargill, and they have managed to do some miraculous things with new townhouses. In April, some of the first workers moved into Cargill's employees' housing and went into their townhomes knowing that they were not going to have an hour-long commute. Cargill's Riverside home development will end up with 27 townhomes and 81 apartments when it's fully built out. A spokesperson from Cargill said that the business has backed a total investment of $34 million into the project to date. They gave a $200,000 grant to fund a housing action committee that was composed of United Way and other local stakeholders, and $300,000 grant to local organizations supporting childcare, homebuyer navigation, and fifth day operations in the schools, such as the Morgan County RE3 school district being on a 4-day school week. Cargill bought land off of Interstate 76 that had a Motel 8 that was shut, and they considered renovating, but then eventually decided to bulldoze it and make space for the new apartments. And it was done at top speed, producing some of the walls and prefabbed housing in Denver and moving them up to Fort Morgan. Cargill's only occupancy stipulation is that primary renter or owner of the townhome or apartment must work at their facility. However, they can take on a roommate, and that roommate doesn't necessarily have to work at Cargill. Along with the developers and Cargill, the town of Fort Morgan had a seat at the table and were quite helpful and collaborative in terms of working with the developers. It's been cited that that isn't always the case in other municipalities. When the plant is at full capacity, it has 2,000 workers and runs 24/7. So people can be commuting at rather inconvenient times, and this is Cargill's solution to help their workers. And those are the top stories for the third week of May in 2025. Please remember to like and subscribe, and make sure to get our emails in terms of which articles have been covered.
Thank you for listening to the Engage the Rockies podcast, your go-to podcast for local and state issues concerning Colorado.